The wind howled across the obsidian plains, carrying with it the metallic scent of ozone and burning minerals. Lyra adjusted the visor of her exploration helmet, its cracked display flickering with faint readings. Beneath her boots, the ground pulsed with veins of red light, magma rivers running deep beneath the planet's fractured crust. Her shuttle had crashed 2 days ago, and the distress beacon barely pierced the electromagnetic storms above. Every sound, every vibration in the air, carried the weight of something alive watching her from afar. When she stumbled upon the nest, she first thought it was a geological formation. Massive charged shells, half buried in basalt. But the heat radiating from them was too rhythmic, too organic. Her suit sensors went wild, screaming biohazard warnings. And then she saw it. A single egg, unbroken, glowing from within like molten gold trapped in glass. The surface pulsed faintly in response to her presence, almost as if it were breathing. She reached out, not in calculation, but in quiet awe. The egg split open with a hiss of superheated steam, revealing something small, trembling, and alive. It uncoiled like liquid metal, scales glimmering in shades of bronze and blue. Two molten eyes blinked up at her, unformed yet ancient. The creature let out a shrill cry that rippled through her visor's comms, translating as raw, telepathic rage. Lyra froze. It was supposed to be a predator. The records of Drathan 4 call them extinction-level species, biological weapons of an empire long gone. Yet here it was, a hatchling barely the size of her arm, puffing sparks into the cold air as though defying its own fragility. Its claws scraped the stone, wings trembling like fractured metal sheets. Lyra crouched slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "You're kind of cute." For a heartbeat, the world stilled. The creature stopped hissing. Its pupils dilated, a ripple of soft blue replacing the violent red. Through the static of her neural link, she felt something: curiosity, confusion, warmth. It tilted its head, and in that impossible moment, a bond neither machine nor dragon could explain began to form, glowing faintly between them like a thread of living fire. The creature's cry echoed into the molten horizon, answered by distant roars that shook the cliffs. Lyra's visor flooded with proximity alerts, massive life forms converging from kilometers away. Her hands trembled, but the hatchling pressed closer, its scales shimmering like liquid circuitry. The connection between them deepened, unbidden and strange. Her neural implant flickered, displaying alien glyphs she couldn't decipher. It was as if the creature's mind had breached her own, bypassing translation protocols and speaking in sensations: fear, hunger, trust. She knelt, whispering, "It's all right. You're safe." The words weren't meant to be commands, but something in the tone calmed the creature. Its breathing steadied, and the heat radiating from its body softened. Around them, the ground rumbled. Enormous shadows circled above the clouds. Lyra looked up just as a lance of plasma fire split the sky. Her sensors identified multiple biosignatures. Adult dragons, their wings generating storms in their wake. Instinct screamed at her to run, but the hatchling's mind clung to hers like an anchor. Every time she tried to move, it whimpered, a strange pulse of light flaring from the core of its chest and into her own neural interface. For a moment, her vision filled with alien memories: vast caverns, oceans of fire, a dynasty of scaled monarchs watching worlds burn. The hatchling's lineage was drenched in war, yet its emotions were pure terror. It didn't want to fight, it wanted her. The sky tore open as one of the great beasts descended, wings eclipsing the twin suns. Lyra braced for death. Instead, the hatchling darted in front of her, roaring with a sound far too large for its tiny body. The ancient dragon hesitated. The air shimmered with an invisible field, an electromagnetic surge emanating from both their bodies. Lyra's implants synchronized with the creature's heartbeat, converting instinct into signal, fear into strength. For a fleeting instant, she understood. It wasn't just a biological anomaly, it was a weapon designed to bond, genetically programmed to choose one mind as its anchor. And somehow, impossibly, it had chosen her. They escaped through the jagged tunnels beneath the molten plains, the air thick with metallic dust and echoes of pursuit. Lyra's suit flickered with damage warnings, oxygen filters at 30%, temperature climbing past survivable levels. But the hatchling's presence kept her moving. Wherever its claws touched stone, the rock cooled, leaving streaks of blue crystal in its wake. Energy readings pulsed through her visor like a living code, forming rhythmic patterns she began to recognize. It was communicating, teaching her without words. Hours passed in fractured silence until they reached an ancient chamber buried deep beneath the crust. The walls pulsed faintly, covered in circuitry veins older than any human design. Lyra brushed the dust away, revealing what looked like a control panel fused with fossilized bone. Her neural implants synced automatically, decoding fragments of data. Project Verith, symbiotic cognition, weaponized empathy. The hatchling stirred at the sound of its name, as if remembering something buried deep within its blood. Lyra stumbled back, realization burning through her exhaustion. This wasn't just a creature, it was a remnant of a forgotten age, a hybrid of organic evolution and artificial intelligence, born to interface directly with sentient minds. The dragons weren't mere beasts. They were living war machines left behind by an empire that had vanished before Earth even existed. The hatchling's gaze locked on hers. A faint hum filled the chamber as its chest core began to glow brighter. Symbols cascaded across her visor in synchronized rhythm. She saw flashes again. Vast fleets in orbit, silver towers stretching through nebulae. Humans and dragons, once standing together before fire, consumed it all. She sank to her knees, dizzy from the flood of alien history. The hatchling pressed its head against her hand, as though comforting her. Through the static in her implant, a word formed, not in sound, but in thought. Chosen. Above them, the distant roars grew louder. The draconic sentinels had found the entrance. Lyra reached for her plasma cutter, trembling but resolute. "Then we fight together," she whispered. The hatchling spread its metallic wings, sparks arcing through the dark like the first breath of a storm. The first blast shattered the upper tunnels, raining molten shards that hissed as they struck the floor. Lyra ducked behind a collapsed column, shielding the hatchling with her body. Her visor's feed filled with telemetry, heat signatures closing in, a dozen or more. The sentinels were not mere dragons. They were augmented, cybernetic beasts with armor grafted into living tissue, their wings resonating with plasma energy. The chamber's walls pulsed brighter as if the ancient technology itself sensed the conflict brewing. The hatchling let out a shriek that fractured sound itself. The consoles responded instantly, awakening dormant systems buried for millennia. Blue circuitry spread through the floor, forming geometric rings that surrounded Lyra and the creature. Energy surged upward, wrapping around them like a cocoon. Her neural implant screamed warnings: psionic overload, unregistered synchronization, cognitive merger risk. But she couldn't move. The hatchling's mind poured into hers, not as words but as memories of flight, fire, and grief. For a moment she was no longer human. She felt the world through scales and wings, tasted radiation in the air, heard the heartbeat of a planet beneath her feet. She understood the Sentinel's language now, the chorus of duty and program rage driving them forward. With a thought, she reached out across the link, sending a pulse of empathy instead of defiance. The leading Sentinel faltered mid-flight, wings stuttering. But another roared, firing a stream of plasma that tore through the protective field. Lyra screamed, feeling the impact like a physical wound. Pain shared through the bond. The hatchling's core flared white-hot, pushing the energy outward in a blast that vaporized the nearest attackers. The explosion tore open the ceiling, revealing the twin suns of Drathan 4 blazing down through the smoke. When the dust settled, Lyra rose unsteadily, smoke curling from her armor. The hatchling, larger now, scales gleaming like liquid chrome, stood beside her. Its voice brushed her mind again, clearer this time. They will never stop. She looked toward the distant horizon, where the sky shimmered with the silhouettes of more dragons descending. Then neither will we. Lightning carved across the clouds as the storm descended, a halo of energy that turned the plains into an inferno of fire and static. Lyra clung to the ridge, her armor scorched, her lungs seared by the thin metallic air. Around her, the sky was alive with movement. Dozens of dragons, their scales glinting with circuitry and plasma veins. Vareth crouched protectively before her, wings outstretched, his body trembling with barely contained power. The psychic link between them pulsed like a second heartbeat, each surge of fear and determination flowing both ways. When the first barrage came, it wasn't fire, but plasma. Coherent light compressed into serpentine streams. Lyra's visor auto-darkened, showing predictive paths as she guided Vareth mentally, sending him commands through instinct rather than words. He moved like liquid lightning, cutting through the blasts, turning heat into propulsion. Their bond had evolved into something symbiotic, her neural implant translating his instincts into tactics, his reflexes amplifying her strategy. Together they were faster than thought. The Council's enforcers were relentless. Massive dragons fitted with thrusters and plasma cannons circled like vultures. Through the neural link, Lyra caught fragments of their communication. Data bursts encrypted in draconic code. They weren't hunting her. They were purging an anomaly. Her and Vareth's existence broke their laws of genetic control. A blast struck the ridge, sending debris flying. Lyra was thrown back, tumbling through a shower of molten glass. Pain seared her arm, but Vareth was already there, shielding her beneath his wings. She reached out, pressing her bloodied hand to his scales, and the link flared again. Blinding, electric, divine. Together they screamed. The sound became light, bending the air itself. When the flare subsided, the enemy formation was gone, wiped from the sky, their circuits fried by the resonance of the bond. The storm fell silent except for the low hum of power that now lingered in their veins. Lyra looked at Vareth, her voice trembling. They'll call us monsters for this. Vareth's eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the distant suns. Then let them. We are more than what they made us. The war ended, not with an explosion, but with silence. The sky above Drathan 4 cleared for the first time in centuries, revealing stars long hidden behind radiation clouds. Lyra stood beside Vareth on a plateau of cooled obsidian, her armor cracked, her pulse steady but weak. Around them, the surviving dragons hovered in uneasy stillness, their eyes reflecting a question older than their bloodlines. Had they just witnessed the birth of something sacred, or the end of everything they knew? The Draconic Council's flagship descended in a slow spiral, its hull scarred and humming with residual energy. From its open bay emerged the eldest of the dragons, vast and silver, his voice vibrating through the air like thunder beneath the bones. He looked upon Lyra and the creature she had raised, and for the first time, there was no hatred in his gaze, only weariness. You unmade what we were, he said, and in doing so, you have given us choice. Lyra could barely stand, yet she met his eyes. Then choose peace. Her words carried across the mind-link frequencies, still resonating through the planet's atmosphere. Every dragon heard her, not as a command but as a pulse of feeling, empathy, courage, hope. One by one, the beasts lowered their heads, wings folding in solemn surrender. The war machines had remembered they were alive. Vareth's wings unfolded fully now, immense and luminous, casting shadows that stretched across the land. He spoke to her without sound. They will need a guide, someone who can speak for both kinds. She smiled faintly, eyes glistening through the smoke. And you'll need someone who can make sure you don't eat the diplomats. His rumbling laugh shook the ground, but behind it was something deeper. Pride, devotion, the eternal echo of the bond they had forged in fire. As dawn rose, Lyra and Vareth took flight together, twin silhouettes ascending toward the horizon. The old world fell silent beneath them, and from that silence a new one began, where dragons no longer ruled and humans no longer feared. Where the word cute, once spoken in innocence, had rewritten the history of two civilizations.